Hey everybody, welcome back. So today we start the rebuild of the Polaris XC 700 SP. This is a 1999. If you are new to my channel, please click on subscribe and also click on the bell to receive all the updates on my channel as well as the sled. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the engine out of the sled because it has a bad crank seal on the PTO side, so the engine's got to come out. So what we're going to do is we're going to document the steps on what you need to do in the event that you're involved in a similar project. So with that being said, let's get to it. Okay, sled's on the trailer. So what we're going to look at is basically we're going to talk about all the big bulky stuff you got to get out of the way first before you can get into the nitty gritty. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the airbox. We're going to remove the belt off the clutches. We're going to take the airbox off and we'll move on to the next steps. So why don't we go ahead and do that now and go from there. All right, so the airbox is removed. It's a fairly straight process. It's really held on by 3 rubber straps. There's one right here in the between the 2 carbs, and then there's 2 other straps that are attached to the hoop of the chassis. One right there. There's one right there. You make the disconnect on the electrical on the CDI, and then you disconnect the vents left and right, and basically then you lift, and then the airbox just rolls right out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the belt off, and this one does not have a hole in the secondary where you can press, basically you would screw a bolt in and then it would depress the helix, which would loosen up the secondary, and then you could remove that. So what we're going to do is we jacked the sled up on a ratchet strap. The back end is off the ground, and all we're going to do is we're just going to roll the belt off the secondary, and we'll just do that. And then once we remove the belt, we're going to remove the exhaust. Okay, so the belt's been removed from the clutches. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the exhaust off, and the exhaust is just held on by these springs. There's 3 in a wide pipe. There's 2 to the pipe mount to the chassis, and then there's 4 on the can that hold the can to the chassis. There's 2 in the back, and then there's 2 on the front, and then there's 2 springs that hold the pipe to the can. Alright, the exhaust has been removed along with the can. Comes right out once you get those springs out. What we're going to do next is we're going to take the carbs out of the boots, so we're just going to set those to the side. We will be cleaning those at a later date, but I'll come around to the other side of the sled so I can show you. But the carbs are just held on into the boot by a hose clamp, 1 per carb. So all we're going to do is we're going to loosen that on both of them, and then we're going to pop the carbs out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Sharpie and I'm going to label it PTO and mag, because right now I'm not going to take the carbs out. We're just focused on taking the engine out. But once the carbs get cleaned and everything else, we're going to want to remember what side was which. Alright, so the carbs have been popped out of the boots. They're just sitting there, and they're labeled PTO and Magneto. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we got to remove the cable for the oil injection. On the oil injection, there's essentially a jam nut and the adjustment nut, and all you want to do is basically just loosen up the jam nut and the adjustment nut, and what you're going to do is you're going to just slide it off the bracket. And then once you do that, you will be able to pull the cable off the arm. Alright, so now that the cable has been removed, what we want to do is remove the main oil feed to the oil pump. All we're going to do is we're going to back off that clamp, and then we're going to remove it from the brass elbow. And then once we remove the line from the elbow, we got to plug it with something. Just take a screw or something that's going to fit in there, and then plug that line, because if you don't, because of gravity, the oil from the injection tank will leak out through that line. So be prepared when you take that off. Alright, so what you can do along with the screw is take a zip tie, double the line over itself, and just use a zip tie as a clamp. And what we're going to do next is we're going to remove the main fuel line coming out of the fuel pump. And before you do that, you want to also make sure that you turn the gas off to the fuel pump so you don't leak gas all over the place. So why don't we go ahead and do that now and move on to the next step. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to drain the coolant out of the engine, and we're looking at the front of it, right? That's the exhaust. So what we're going to do is we're just going to loosen up that clamp. We're going to back it off, and then we're going to take the hose off the nipple there, and all the coolant is going to come out of the bottom of the engine. Make sure you have a catch can when you do this to capture all the coolant, because all the coolant is going to drain through the bottom of the belly pan. Alright, so now that you remove the lower hose, what you're going to do is you're going to go up to the top, remove the top one so you let air into the engine, so it's going to allow it to drain. Then what we're going to do now is we're just going to remove the main electrical connection coming out of the stator. So you can do that, and then also what you want to do, you also want to remove the lead that goes into the temperature sending unit, and then you have to disconnect the clamp that's held on to the valve. I'm sorry, the carb boot right here, because this needs to separate from the engine. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove that clamp, and then we'll be able to pop that out, because otherwise the engine will still be attached to the sled through that wire. So we're gonna remove that, and then I'll poke around for any more electrical, and if I find anything I'll let you know. Alright, so now we're at the point where the engine is ready to come out, and it's held on by these two mounting straps, and the mounting straps are held on to the chassis by 4 9/16 nuts. There's one right there, there's another one down there, and there's another one right down there. So all I need to do is remove those 4 nuts, and then grab a buddy, and then just muscle it out of there. So I'm gonna go do that now. Alright, so after a little groaning and moaning and pulling, the engine's out. So the next thing we're gonna do is, probably not today, probably next weekend, take the power washer and clean the hell out of this thing and get rid of all the grime and gunk and everything else that's been collecting in the belly pan over the course of the last 20 years now. So we'll do that at another time. The engine's up on the bench, so probably what I'm gonna do right now is I'm probably just gonna pop off the clutch, take a look at the main seal in there, see how bad it is. Even though we're gonna take it apart, and then we'll do the disassembly video in another one. So I hope everybody found this interesting and helpful. If there's any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and leave them in the comments box. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and also click on the bell to receive all the updates and notifications on my video. And have a great day. See you later. Bye.